Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So today's pick a card, we're going to try to approximate what it might be like if you went to a shaman and the shaman journeyed for you in the three distinct worlds of the shaman, the lower world, the middle world and the upper world, and what messages from each the shaman may bring back to you. So you can, I've certainly been shown how by a shaman to journey for myself, listen to a drum track and so forth, have the intention recorded afterwards and so forth, meaning writing it down afterwards and reflecting on it and so forth. But I think more typically people go to shaman and shaman do the journeying. And it's partly, I think, because certain worlds, in particular the middle world, can be quite a trickster sort of energy. So that sort of experience is helpful, and also to be able to understand the symbols and so forth. So this is not meant to say don't go and do shamanic journeying yourself. I think it's a wonderful thing to do. But in this particular exercise, we're going to imagine the shaman has done the journey. So what we're going to be looking at, particularly with tarot, we're going to use, it's going to be a very tarot heavy reading actually. I'm going to use 4 different tarots as the reading progresses, one for each of the worlds, and then one at the end for a yes/no question, coming either from the reading, or if there's something that's really pressing in your mind at the moment that you want to do a yes/no on, by all means you can do that. I'll explain how to do that when we get to that part of the reading. But really we're going to start with a energy or theme from the Sacred Medicine Heart deck, and then we're going to use the tarot primarily to do the journeys to the worlds. And there's particular ways that I'll be looking at the tarot cards with that I'll explain as I go through it. And then we'll just use some astro dice, another oracle, and then another tarot deck. So as I say, very tarot heavy reading, this one. Don't know that there's much else to say except that the lower world is traditionally the world where you find your soul, your power animal, spirit animals, that kind of thing. It's a kind of a very safe place, but it's easy to get tricked and think that you're there and you're in the middle world. The middle world is more like this world. It's the world where there's lots of trickster energy, where we interact both with the material world and also with potentially entities and energies that could be trickster or could be problematic or could be illusory. So it's a little bit of a world where one can be led astray. So in the lower world, we'll be asking the shaman to bring back messages on your core soul direction and in a sense, almost not necessarily soul health, but, like the kind of energy of your soul at the moment. In the middle world, we'll ask what could lead you astray, or what do you need to be very aware of in your day-to-day life around your journey. And then in the upper world, the celestial upper world, we'll look at what messages are coming to you from that kind of realm. So that's what we'll be doing, so that you sort of understand the different worlds as we do it. So beyond that, you just need to choose your pile. Of course, you can go to more than one if you want. There could be excuse me, a couple of shaman that you really need to go and see about different things. So that's sort of up to you. You do you, as I always say. But to help with the choice, I did use, as I say, the Medicine Heart Oracle. That's what it's actually called, Alana Fairchild's Medicine Heart Oracle, to get a kind of a theme or a kind of an energy, almost maybe a precipitating energy that might have brought you to the shaman in the first place. And it'll help you know if you've gone to the right reading at the beginning too, but hopefully it helps you with the choice. So for pile number 1, we have the medicine circle. For pile number 2, we have Azim. For pile number 3, we have sacred law of the Northwest. So if the image, the concept, the wording, even the numbers, 1 for pile 1, 28 for pile 2, and 41 for pile 3, any of those things may draw you. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I've got the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So you came to the reading with Medicine Circle, the first card in the deck, and almost an entry point in many ways for the whole work of shamanism, because the Medicine Circle represents a place, a sacred space, a sacred location, I guess, but also sacred energies around that is protective, a healing energy. It can be a circle of elders, a circle of shaman, I guess, a circle of energy, a place that is about healing. But the concept about it is transformational and soul level healing. So there is something for you that you are either looking to heal or there is something you're looking to transform. And it can draw you when you have a very specific concern. So if you have a very specific concern you're trying to sort out, you need guidance on, and and you need to transform something to get a good outcome, then bear that in mind as I do the reading, because of course I will be doing it as a collective level, but bear it in mind and maybe think about how you might really clarify something in the yes/no question at the end. The other thing is it can be finding a divine purpose or a divine path. So if you aren't coming to this, you got drawn to this energy and this pile, but you aren't looking at a particular problem or issue that you're trying to transform or solve, then there may be a message here for you about your next step on your sort of soul path, a divine mission, something like that to be aware of. So I'm going to bear in mind, and I'm sure the shaman would bear in mind, healing energy, healing and transformational advice from each world, but also something that might help guide towards a path that is right for you. So I think those are the two things. But the really strong energy to know about this is the medicine circle is a safe space. So this is a safe place to explore. And that will be interesting when we're looking at the middle world because of that, as I say, that trickster energy and that we can be led astray. This is a safe place almost at that level to explore the impact of that in this very confusing world that we live in. So I think that's the main thing that I get from that, just that this is healing, transformation, or a divine path. So let's jump into the reading. Let's start with the lower world. So I'm going to use the Cosmic Seeker Tarot for that because I feel it in its imagery really fits the energy of the lower world. The lower world is where it's very primitive. It's not got technology. You won't find an iPhone down there, all of that kind of thing. It's very much prehistoric. It's our ancestral lines, all of that kind of thing, and it connects to our soul. And we often find confronting things as a process called hollowing out, where we can almost feel like we're dying or being torn apart by circumstance or our power animal or our spirit animals or whatever. But that is to clear energy and transform. Now, I'm going to be using the court cards very differently in each world, or they're probably quite similar between the lower world and the upper world, but there's going to be a slight difference for the middle world. So if a court card comes out and it comes out upright in the lower world, that is something about a guide that is kind of connecting to you. If it comes out reversed, it is something within you that is being transformed and looked at. So the other cards are just going to be whatever they are, but there will be that different energy. I'll talk about how the court cards work in the other two as we get to them. So for you, around the medicine circle, around the healing, transformational, or life path energy, what does a shaman give you or bring back to you as a message from the lower world? The Devil reversed, the Knight of Pentacles reversed, the Four of Fire or Four of Wands, the Six of Earth or Six of Pentacles, the Moon, and Judgment. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to say here, the shaman, in terms of encountering you and something that needs to be transformed, healed, a problem that needs to be solved, or something that you need to understand and look at this level in relation to your path, it has to do with commitment. Issues around commitment. So it could be commitment that you have. It is probably most likely your commitment to something, whether it's something material in terms of like a career or a pathway or the material world, or whether it's commitment in a relationship. There is a real thing for you here now about determining if something is right to commit to, particularly as we have the Siren, the Devil reversed next to it. There is an energy here of examining freedom versus commitment. So there is something in this healing energy. Do you stay in a relationship that you really need to be free from because you think commitment is it, or do you feel you have to free yourself from the relationship regardless of whether or not commitment would have been something that might have made a difference? This is something you have to kind of look in for yourself, but it has to do with harmony. So the shaman says that within you at the moment, there is a wish for a harmonious sort of family, a harmonious team, a harmonious community. But there is a real balance that you're trying to work out between what you would commit to or do that and where it would become too much. So there's a message around that for you. You either have a benefactor around this or you will be a benefactor. This is also, I was talking about this actually with somebody that I did a private reading for, and without giving obviously anything away about that, but I was saying it was interesting this turned up because this picture reminds me of a scene or a particular thing that happened in a series called Carnival. And there was a particular healing exercise that happened in a similar sort of environment, and there were birds associated with it. And I don't want to be spoilery, so I don't want to give it away, but it was a very moving scene. And I feel like because this is connecting to healing, it's connecting in a similar way. I think this is partly for you to understand you are either a natural shaman yourself or a natural healer. And that is partly your role, but there is a balance in this, in the harmony. Just like there's a balance between commitment and freedom, there is also a balance between being the healer and allowing the community to heal itself. So I think there's a big message for you here about the balance of your personal responsibility and what you are doing in something and what you have to commit to, what you have to bring to it, what only you can do, but also allowing others around you harmoniously to find their place. There is much that is hidden around this and much that is karmic around it. In fact, we're looking at sort of 3 key elements that have to be held in balance. The first is freedom versus commitment. The second is community versus kind of the leader, the healer, the person who is the benefactor. So what the community can do for itself, what people around you can do for themselves, what you can do, and where the balance is here. In this, there is a balance between what is hidden or needs to remain hidden and what is going to be in a fiery way shown, like a calling, something that draws to you. What is your path, but what has to remain hidden? And it's all here because it's sort of saying to you, part of the healing transformation or your path is about you taking on a role where you can be a benefactor, where you can help others with their calling, and where you can come in and out of their lives, but you're not controlling their lives. So it's how the community and the people around can stay free and feel that they have the autonomy, and they do have the autonomy, but you are still a guide in some way. This is your calling and you are a healer. And the big thing for you, the big balance for you, the shaman says, is to know when to make it obvious that you are healing and helping and guiding, and when to almost back off or leave them to work it out for themselves. So it is the interesting role of more of a healer and a mentor than a boss or a kind of a mayor of the town or whatever. But if you did have a role like that, then this is saying you have to keep a lot of what you're really doing in terms of guidance hidden, because otherwise you almost entrap them in your vision and they need to find theirs. So there's a kind of a real responsibility around this. It's a confirmation if you wondered if you're a healer, but it's a little bit more complex than that. You wouldn't be likely actually to set up your shingle as a healer. You're much more likely actually to be a leader within a community, I think, or to be heading towards that. But there is a wisdom here in understanding how to lead and so forth in a way that heals and lets the community grow and be in harmony, as opposed to pushing your own view on something, that kind of thing. So there's a responsibility. You're being asked about a responsibility here. So the middle world becomes very interesting then. We're using the highly sensitive Heartlight Edition tarot for this because it has very day-to-day sort of imagery. Because this feels to me like this is a very deep, very sacred role. It is you. If you are looking for a role, this is your role, but this is the balance and this is the challenge of the role as well. And I feel that's why I see a fox there. You actually have to be not sly. I mean, we're sort of seeing kind of this sort of, there's a loyalty energy here with the kind of canine energy, but you have to be strategic. There's something about strategy here. But at its core, it's being the healer, being the benefactor, being the guide, being the shaman, being whatever it is, but not becoming the answer. It's more that you become the portal to the answer. So I feel like the shaman would be doffing their hat to you and going, this is very similar to what I do. So take these messages on and use them as they resonate for you. You don't have to follow them exactly, but understand that same principle applies to what you do. So let's look in the middle world. Now, in the middle world, it is a world where you can have the trickster energy of entities and so forth. It's not just what we deal with and all the trickster energy we as humans do to each other. It's also that. So with court cards in this one, If a court card comes up upright, then this is an aspect of you that you can leverage and use. If it comes reversed, I feel like it's a trickster energy. It's either a trickster thing within yourself or someone that you're around, like a human, or it could be a trickster guide energy that you need to be careful of. So we're just going to be aware of that if court cards come up. But what is the message from the middle world for you? Six of Cups reversed, Page of Swords, the Hierophant reversed, the High Priestess. Wow, yeah, you are probably a natural shaman yourself, I think. Nine of Pentacles reversed, Page of Pentacles reversed. Okay, all right. So, jump into the court cards first, because as I say, in a way, that's a very specific thing we're doing in this reading. You have a very strong sense of communication and you have a basic curiosity. One of the reasons that this soul energy is there is that you are genuinely interested in other people. It's not all just about you. You would be just as interested to hear what somebody else chose in this pick a pile and what it meant to them as what it is to you. And in fact, to some degree, I think you come to pick your cards just to sort of understand more about yourself so you can be more open to understanding others. You are very externally focused and very about communication and curiosity, and that will help you, because while one stays in a curious position, one is listening, one is asking open-ended questions, one is being open to the other and to what is different, as opposed to trying to talk too much and tell them what to be. Like then at one level, like if you've got the King of Swords there, for instance, it might be, well, you might be very fair in what you do, but you're a bit autocratic. So this is a good energy. You're curious. But when you're curious, of course, you can sometimes connect into things that are problematic. Page of Pentacles reverse suggests either people around you, if it's people, or, kind of entity energy that kind of wants to keep everything almost unformed. In fact, I think this is much more like a kind of entity energy, really. It doesn't allow for planning. It would, in a sense, coax this side of you just to continually stay in like a research space and never get to the development, in a diagnostic phase and never get to, like what the treatment might be, that kind of energy. There is an energy on you in the material world that almost forces you, or is coaxing you to stay in that kind of explorative zone and not in the outcome zone. But the thing is that you are connected to community. It's showing it very strongly here. It's not just an academic exercise. It's not just you sit down and you go, oh, well, that's what the world is like and that's what these people are like and I know what the answer is, and let's explore even further about all the consequences of the different things. You are actually connected to community, but you're very different. The way you approach things is still very different. In fact, for many of you, you may feel like a bit like an outsider, or that you need to have a career or an approach in life that is very, like, not necessarily heretical, but very different to the norm. You almost look at conventional spirituality, conventional ways of thinking as being the thing that causes disharmony, being the thing that divides. So you're looking, maybe if you were looking at, you might study comparative religion and you might look across the things and look for what's similar, as opposed to saying this way is right. So you're kind of very open-minded, and that's good. You don't have a fixed, this is the way it is and that's all there is to it, and you're very other people centered, very psychic, very psychic. So like even if you took the healing thing and you became a conventional medicine person within, like Western medicine or something, you would still bring a very psychic energy into it. But there is something in your life at the moment that needs to be very different from the past. It does need to transform. So that's a transformational energy. And you are curious. Your natural curiosity and your openness and your psychic ability and your connection to others all helps with that, all helps with taking you or others through change in a harmonious way. But this energy, this is your Achilles heel in a way, because you could stay, as I say, in the diagnostic, the research, the academic thing for too long, or just not take it forward, or be unsure. If you're trying to balance this between, well, when do I kind of guide and when do I kind of leave it alone? And this is a big issue, because it could give you license to say, well, I'm just always just going to be looking at having conversations. I'm not going to do anything material. But sometimes you may need to do something material. You may need to say, here's a business proposal. Here's a policy proposal. Here's some money for you if you need it. Here's some food, like whatever it might be. That's the kind of, when you're trying to balance this all the time, and it's a noble thing to do, and when you're curious and open-minded, the problem is you might never move into solution implementation mode. You're only in the diagnostic solution development mode. So that's interesting. So then we look at the celestial realm. Now, in terms of the court cards here, I feel like it's a kind of a similar thing, but in this case, I feel if the court card is upright, it is a guide energy for you, celestially. And if it is reversed, it's not a problem you have. It's just something that you are at that level to learn about, or that you could explore further in terms of your divine mission and so forth. So what does the shaman have to say to you from the celestial realm? 8 of Swords, 3 of Swords reversed, Wheel of Fortune reversed, Death card, 9 of Wands reversed, Temperance reversed. Okay. So this is a very pure message, because we don't have like kind of guides turning up, and we don't even really have like an aspect of you. This is a very big ticket message for you. It is saying to you that your mind and your communication is one of your great strengths. Is again in a balance. You need to get in balance. It can trap you. So it's sort of, and that I think is this idea. Like if you kind of keep staying, it's all theoretic and it's all in your mind, you stay trapped, but you don't need to. You can actually move forward. The issue that you've got, the reason you sometimes don't, is you worry about causing pain, separation, or division if you actually come forward with what you think, as opposed to just generating what others think. This is saying it's not as binary as that. It's saying it's all about timing. What you need to do, and this is, if you go back, it says there's a clue back here, because it's like looking at the past. What are you shifting from the past? The things that you want to shift are the things where the timing of this got out of balance. So what were the signs of that? When is choice necessary, and how do you decide what is your choice and what is somebody else's choice? This is all, it's all in the history of it. You can go back and you can see the pattern. There is a pattern. And that will help you realize that you can actually balance that. Free your mind when it's necessary and speak your truth. Deal with any kind of like separation or division, but in a way that is not painful. It's all about timing, and there is a pattern. It wants you to go back and look at that. It's also saying something very interesting. It's saying that we live in a time in the world, and this is why we've kind of got this sort of energy here that won't allow solutions to be manifest. At the moment, the world energy is very out of balance, and it's a very sort of tetchy, difficult energy in the world. There's a lot. So it's saying your natural ability to keep harmony and keep this in balance, it's one thing that it's yours and you can do that, but on the other level, you're also dealing with a world where everything's out of balance. It is saying very clearly here, you are meant to do what you can in this life, but to truly, truly do all that you're meant to, it's almost like it's in the next life. And that doesn't mean like you're about to die or anything. It could be many, many, many years from now. And it's not to say not to do what you're doing, but there's something in your soul's evolution which will come to even more fruition in the next life. This is a preparation. This is a training ground for you for that, because you're going to have a role in getting the world back into balance. That's what it's saying. It's saying it quite strongly. I would, if you know your chart, look at your North Node. Look at the sign it's in, but look even more the house that it's in. It will tell you the area of life that you are particularly tilting towards to bring the world back into balance. If you don't know your chart, that's fine. But that's, if you do, it's just a bit of a hint about that. So you're an interesting group. You are doing a lot of good now, and keep doing it, because this is like building a muscle and building an understanding. And there is the balance energy, and learning to balance, and therefore learning the timing and the patterns is what you're meant to do in this life. It doesn't mean you won't do some extraordinary things in this life. It just means something really extraordinary happens next time. But it is a preparation. So think of it that way. Okay, so that makes the next stage of this really interesting, because I wanted to look at the spiritual gifts or approaches that the shaman points out that you could focus on for each world. So the lower world, you getting that into balance, the middle world, you understanding how to move to solution implementation wherever you can, and the upper world, understanding the training ground you're in. So for the lower world, we have ascension. Okay. So this is right from the beginning, understanding. This is what I'm saying. You are meant in this life, you're training, you're in training to help others with ascension, to help others, because we can't ascend as a group if we're fractured and imbalanced. So you are really part of that. Like, but it's like in this life, this is the training ground for it. Focus on the long-term goal. Keep the long-term goal in mind. The thing about the North Node, the reason I said the North Node, and so we do often achieve quite a bit of that in this life because we're very focused towards it, but I believe we achieve even more in the next life. I think that it tells us what we're preparing for. So you're connected to something pretty big, Pile 1. So then the middle world, where at the moment it could all get very, like comparative religions and comparative, political systems, and I'm going to be open-minded and I'm going to look at it, but like maybe not progressing things because you're a bit worried about upsetting the apple cart. What spiritual energy is good to focus on? Release. Okay. Yeah, this is about understanding the patterns and releasing those things that held you back from when you needed to make decisions. So practicing release as well. Practicing release of the blocks that you would have around this. Practicing get the information and then release it. Get the information, release it. Don't get just stuck in a groove of just your mind. And then from the celestial realms, for your bigger purpose, guide. Okay. So you're going to become a guide as well. And this is the thing. You're kind of like, at the moment, I think you have a strong guide. There's something very canine. You have a very strong canine sort of energy. I would think there's something very canine about your spirit animal team in the lower world. But I think even in the upper world, there is a loyal guide that you have and a loyalty to that. That helps to be a bit of a kind of a direction for you. But I think your long-term thing is to become a guide for others. One way of interpreting this is not the next life. It may even be that after this life you become a guide for others. It may depend on who's come to the reading. But I think most of you are going to incarnate again and be here at a very key point. And I mean, I think we're at a pretty key point at the moment, but like in reality, that will take decades and decades to fully work its way through, and that's why it could easily be in the next life for people, even if you have many, many happy years left in this life. And I think most of you would. This is not a prediction of death. Okay, so let's have a look at the astro dice again, like just a kind of astrological energy for each of the worlds as well. So around the lower world, we get the North Node. Yeah, the North Node's important here. In Taurus in the 4th house. Yeah, it's all about community, the home. There is sort of, as I say, you could be a shaman or something like that for a community. Like it is about the community. You're heading more and more towards that. What is it to be at a home level? It's also showing you're very at home in the lower world. So you if you were doing shamanic journeying, you would feel very at home in that. You'll feel very connected to the earth and grounded with Taurus. Okay, for the middle world, we have the South Node. So what you're moving away from is just the mind energy with the Aquarius and something that's very transpersonal and very focused on just creating the life you want. I think that you will do well in this world if you haven't already. You will create, because that Taurian energy, that's a very second house energy, already in the lower world. So you're moving away from worrying about that. You're less worried about that. Doesn't mean you never have issues with balancing the books, and getting a home and doing all those things. But basically that's not the big focus for you at the moment. It is more transpersonal. But the thing about Aquarius is this energy. It can stay too much in the ether. It is important to ground it back to community, not just to kind of like a concept of community, but the actual community that you're in, the actual people that you're around, the actual team you work with, your actual family, that sort of thing. And then when we look at the celestial level, we've got the sun. There we go. Yeah, your big purpose in the 11th house, connecting with other people in Capricorn and grounding that energy. Yeah, getting it back into balance. And I think it's also creating a new tradition. Like I think like a communal tradition using 11th house sort of energy, so social media, AI potentially, all of that kind of thing. But there's something about creating a new tradition after understanding all the various traditions. And that, I think, as I say, you'll get a fair way towards that in this life, but you'll do even more in the next. Okay, so Now we're going to get to the yes/no portion. So this is what we're going to close out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to think of a question that is a yes/no question. It's either related to this or it's related to something else. But I'll probably talk primarily about it in this terms, but you can extrapolate. I'm also going to ask you to think of a number between 1 and 3 because I'm going to deal out now face down 3 tarot cards, and that's going to be the yes/no answer depending upon which number that you did. So if you need to pause because I'm dealing them out now. So the answer to number 1, the answer to number 2, the answer to number 3. Okay. So if your yes/no question was number 1, the answer is no. Because any of the court cards in my system, any of the court cards are no, unless they are wands or cups and reverse, and then it's too close to call. But the answer here is no. And it's interesting. It may connect back to someone. If you were asking about someone, they may be this sort of kind of have this trickster energy. Otherwise, there is something about what you're asking about that isn't practical yet. It can be made practical, but it isn't practical yet. So there is a kind of a push towards get that Page of Pentacles upright. It would still be a no in this system, but in the sense of the classic tarot energy, getting it upright would start to plan for what you would need for that to be a yes. If this is asking about whether someone is trustworthy, it's a pretty clear no, particularly with the connection to that. If it's asking about, is this the great love of my life, it's probably a pretty clear no as well too. So it depends on what you're asking, but I think in this, it's around no, something that you are looking at the moment is not yet grounded enough. So think about that. If you chose number 2, the answer to your yes/no question is yes, unless it is about your spiritual knowledge. Because with the major arcana, when they're reversed, if it is very much on topic, like if the actual major arcana card is on topic and it's reversed, then it could go either way. So if you are asking something here very specific about your spiritual path, this is saying it could go either way. So it may be that you need to explore things more or think about it in a different way. But it doesn't mean the answer is no. It just means it's a little bit too close to call, and it may be very much down to your choice. For all other questions, the answer is yes, and it has something to do with either you or others or information coming out in some way to really clarify that the answer is yes. If you chose number 3, the answer to your yes/no is no, because it's a court card and it's upright. So no, whatever this is, if it is an offer literally coming to you, it's probably not a good idea. If it's asking if an offer is going to come to you, no, it's not. If this is around this sort of energy, I would say that this is something that comes from your heart and is very pure, but the answer is still no in whatever way or whatever question you asked. So I hope that the visit to the shaman was helpful. I hope that it was enlightening. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with Ezem, and Ezem is about sacred simplicity, and it's a very specific sort of message, I think. So you'll know whether this is the right reading for you. It's a card that is very helpful, I think, with very either creative people or multi-talented people. And it's interesting this has come up because I, in private readings, read for a few people like this, and they do all seem to have the same challenge, which is when there are so many opportunities, almost like all these different, I guess, emus, what do you choose? What do you do? Things can get very, very complicated. Things can get overcomplicated, in fact. It could be, if I spend time on this, am I neglecting that? Would that be a better thing to do? And so forth. And it can end up with a kind of a indecisive and unfulfilled outcome in the end, because it's a lot easier to have one major talent and just be obsessed with it and run with it. So this is about simplifying things and working out what do you really want to manifest. That seems to be the theme of this thing, if we bear it in mind when we go through the worlds. And there's 2 things around it. One is about Ezem itself means bones. So what is the bare bones? What is the thing that is the core you? They're in the lower world, with the hollowing out, you often get sort of kind of torn apart. You come down to your bare bones, to the truth of you. So there's something here about accessing the truth of you, to know which of your multi-talents or creative inspirations are the ones to move forward with. The second thing is that it connects a lot with Saturn. So it'll be interesting to see when we get to astrology if Saturn comes up. It doesn't matter if it doesn't, but Saturn is about things that happen over time and things that require discipline. So I think this is all about choosing one or two, at least a small enough number of creative ideas or paths or whatever that it's actually manageable and you don't dissipate your energies too much, so that you really get to the core thing that is your longer term mission, your karmic energy, all of that kind of thing, which is also Saturn. So that's what the shaman, if you go to the shaman and say, I really want direction, so many different things I could do, or I don't seem to ever finish anything and I always get new ideas or something in that thing, or I'm finding it hard to ground my energy, that would be the sort of messages in general here. Now, the shaman will go to each of the worlds to gather messages for you. The first one is the lower world, and that's one is very important for this, I think, because it is a very grounding place. It is the place where we come back to our bare bones, literally sometimes in a shamanic journey. It's the place where we get closest to our soul. So we're first of all going to see what messages he brings from there about this theme and more generally. I'm going to be looking at court cards very specifically for each world. So for the lower world, if a court card comes up upright, then that is a guide energy for you in the lower world. If a court card comes up reversed, it's going to be an area that you need to examine more in yourself to get the answer and to get the balance that you're looking for. So otherwise, everything else is pretty much the same, and I will look at the classic meaning of court cards as well, but that is I'm going to be looking at court cards differently for each world. So this is how we're going to look at it for the lower world. So for you, we get the Knight of Pentacles upright, the Knight of Swords reversed, okay, the Moon, the Nine of Air, or Nine of Swords, the Two of Earth or Two of Pentacles reversed. Yeah, choice. Your problem is choice. And yeah, the Lovers. Choice in what you do, choice in relationships. In some way, what's brought you here is there are options, and how do you choose the right option, and what do you focus on? It's showing up here both in terms of relationships and in terms of creative or material things. And it may be that it's one or other for you when you're hearing this reading, because this is a collective reading, or it might be both. In any case, we start right off with that. We start right off almost with the choice of energies to look at, because you have a guide which is about commitment. So you go down there and you say, I've got to choose, I've got to get that Saturnian energy of commitment, discipline and choice, and really bring something to being. There is a guide in the lower world there for you to help you with that. It helps you get that. But it is confronting you and saying that you find what happens and what you have to learn to balance. What you find happens is you're incredibly inspirational, incredibly creative, incredibly talented, whatever it is. But the minute that you try and commit to something, it's like it slows you down, particularly in the way of your inspiration and so forth. So you are, if you're an artist, you are incredibly good at all the different ideas and so forth. But the actual execution of it, you either lose interest or you feel like it slows you down. I do think that you channel a lot creatively or inspirationally. And this is one of the things, when you channel, it comes very fast. But to then make it, like, say for argument's sake, you're an author, because this is a good example of this. You can know you're channeling as an author if you write very fast. If you write very quickly, the stories just pour out, etc. And that's fantastic. But if you really want to make it work, you've then got to do the sort of like solid, slower, almost tedious work of editing and refining, because no matter how much is channeled and no matter how brilliant it is, pretty much, I think it was Ernest Hemingway said, every first draft is ish, if you know what I mean. So basically there's something here, like the guide wants to say to you that it's in the hard work of like truly developing it, that you've got to understand that slowing down is natural. I think you actually kind of on some level feel when it slows down, oh, is it not the right idea? You get into doubt. So the guide is trying to make you not doubt that. Say that what that actually does is there's the first inrush of channeled energy to you in whatever it is you do or whatever your talents are. And then there is the deeper undercurrent of the moon of what is underneath that. And it's like here we're giving you this wonderful uncut gem, but you're not going to see everything that could be until you actually polish it up and see what it could be. So this guide is helping you see the value in choice, discipline, and seeing something through and refining it in some way. Because you worry about your choices, and the energy, the shaman is saying, of course you can't decide what to finally bring into being until you start this process. So you've almost got to let go of the fear of it and just go, I'm just going to go with something when it's come through. I'm just going to take it to at least a midway point to see, is this something then that I want to take across the line, as opposed to, okay, well, this feels better because it rushes through and it's quick and it's inspiring. So I just keep doing that, and eventually it'll just be obvious which one to take through. And what this is saying is, no, it won't be obvious, because the hard work is the point. And every creative person, every multi-talented person, it doesn't matter what even a talent has to be worked on. No matter how much of a prodigy you may be, it has to be worked on. So that's the thing. And like saying, it's like, just let something come through and take it as far as you can, and then just maybe determine at that point, is there enough spiritual heft to this to finish it, or do I go and look at something else at that point? But allow things the time, because otherwise you're just going to agonize over what you should be doing, and you're just going to flip from one thing to another. And around relationships, like if you find that it's hard to find the one, and you kind of like, you're attracted to one person that's exciting, but the minute the excitement is gone, it's like, well, do I want to be with this person anymore? Or how do I choose someone? Or you're drawing that kind of energy in and it's mirroring you. Again, go back to the guide here who says it's in the hard work. Falling in love is wonderful. Deciding, say, to commit, move in together, and really go through the stuff of life together is a different thing. So it really is saying, and as I say, it's not meant as a criticism. It comes from being multi-talented, very creative, very inspirational, all of that kind of thing. But this is Saturn's lesson to you. I think in a way, this guardian of Earth is kind of like a representation of Saturn, and Saturn, it wants to work with you, but it understands the electric excitement of the new for you, and because you are so clever, that happens, but there's no getting past it. It doesn't matter how clever you are. You are going to have to work on something, refine it, and polish it up. It's just the way of the world. So speaking of the world, let's have a look at the middle world, because this is more like our day-to-day world. Now, the way the court cards are going to work here is, if we get an upright court card, it's an aspect of you that you can use in daily life that really helps you. If it's reversed, it could be a trickster energy, either from other people or from even entities, the Fae, or spirit entities or whatever. So again, very specific meaning for the court cards. What does the shaman want to say to you from the middle world? 3 of Swords, 9 of Cups reversed, Queen of Cups. Oh, that's interesting with the moon. There's a very psychic energy to what you do. 2 of Cups reversed. Oh yeah, and there is something about relationship energy as well too here. 5 of Pentacles, 8 of Pentacles. Now the good news is that there's only like one court card here, and that's you, and that's a well-developed one. Queen of Cups, as I say, very psychic, very emotionally. There's nothing wrong with your emotion, even if you're having issues around making choices in love. It's not that your emotional energy is not mature. It's this whole thing for you, because there are so many options, and you can see so many options. You have almost this holistic sort of thing. It's like all these porpoises or dolphins are sort of like floating free above her mind. Like there's so much. There's like choice, emotional choice, because in many ways you're emotionally very developed. Like that's not a problem, and very psychic. So that helps you. Your emotional maturity helps you with this. It doesn't necessarily answer your question about how to make a choice about your multi-talents, but it does mean that you can kind of deal with that and look at it. You're able to hear this message. The other thing that I think the shaman would say to you is that is part of the key of deciding. If there are many things, if you have many creative projects in mind, or you have many things you could do for a career, something that connects to your emotional maturity and your understanding of others and your intuition, because it's very powerful. This is a Scorpio card, and then we've got the moon. It's a bit like having moon in Scorpio. Very powerful energy around emotions and connections with people. So even though you might find it hard sometimes to make choices romantically, you actually, you can actually almost take that and create something out of it that helps others. So you don't have a direct trickster energy. So the shaman is saying to you, a lot of this is you, that your issue is you, and it's not to criticize you. It's to understand this blessing that you have, but how that can also become a burden and how you need to reframe it. One of the things is that for you, in the skills that you have, the inspiration or whatever, separating out or letting any of them go feels like losing the dream. It's like what I sort of see is, say you are artistic, you're strategic, you've got a good business mind, and you are athletic. I just don't think about some different sort of things. It's almost like if you went, I'm going to focus on the strategic and the artistic, and I'm going to bring those two together to get a message across, then you would be feeling like you were mourning the loss and the separation of the athletic and the other one, whatever that one was. I can't remember what the four were. So you do have to come to terms with the fact that you have to separate from some dreams that are not the main one. And that's your job in this life, because you really do have something profound to bring through. But while you're kind of like going, I can't let it go of any of the toys, you don't get to play with any of them. Like you're just holding them all close and you're kind of stuck. It's almost a Four of Pentacles stuck. This is all my stuff, but what do you do with it? Maybe one of the first things you need to do is work out what is your relationship to others, particularly love, but it doesn't have to be just love. It's like what makes you comfortable if you made a choice to be set apart and on your own, rather than being driven to be in relationships just not to be alone. And it is saying you can master these things. In fact, you brought through a mastery on a lot of things. This is why it's sort of like, I think the other thing it's saying to you is that, like, if you did have all those talents and you just don't focus on some at the moment, you can go back to them afterwards because you already have it, or you can do it in another life. But right now, one of the things for you to really work out how to use it best is around relationship and connection to others, because you actually really do have a genius for it, but you're kind of almost underestimating yourself because you don't want to be alone, and you may be doing things or using talents to make other people happy rather than yourself. So these are the things to think about in the middle world. What's going on? So then we move to the upper world, which can give you a bit of celestial guidance. The court cards here, if a court card is upright, then that is a energy, a guide energy for you there to help you. If it's reversed, it's something that the celestial realms are asking you to examine in yourself. So when we look at what comes at the upper world, Ace of Cups reversed, Seven of Wands, the Hierophant, the Star, wow, Ten of Swords reversed, Two of Swords reversed. Okay. There's not a specific guide energy there, and there's not a specific part of you. Like, I think a lot of the issue for you can be worked out in the middle world, in what you do on a day-to-day basis. This is giving you a little bit of an origin story to what's going on for you. You have been a star in many things, and you have the ability to be a star in many things. And so it's almost like the various talents, inspirations, or whatever you bring through are things that you have focused on very specifically in other lives. It has been developed. You have kind of become a star within a number of different, like, kind of industries or concepts or belief systems or whatever it might be. Like, you do stand out, and you did do the learning. That's what I'm saying. The mastery is already there. That's not the issue. So it's telling you, yes, you're already seen as very talented in these areas, in the upper realms. That's not an issue. And one who kind of understands the mysteries of it all. Particularly, you have a particular talent, as I say, around spiritual and emotional things. So that's there. Don't worry about that. But it is saying something broke your heart. It may have been in this life. You might have chosen not to pursue something and chose something else, and then you felt that was absolutely the wrong thing. You might have chosen somebody to be with, and you really feel now that you should have chosen somebody else. There's something, or it could have happened in a past life. But it's saying, yes, your heart will get broken sometimes, because we do have to choose sometimes. And it's kind of like, choosing your favorite child. It's like, it's very hard to do. You really, I mean, in terms of children, you probably shouldn't. But, like, nevertheless, it's that kind of level of emotional tug. You've either had your heart, well, you have had your heart broken, it's saying, but whether it's in this life or another life, around something here. But it's saying be brave, because the reality is nothing is lost. Nothing is really lost. And it is saying that when you realize that, the drama that you have about making decisions will fall away. Because it's a fear of the broken heart that's doing this, whether it's around relationships or whether it's around feeling that you let yourself down. This wants you to know you're not going to let yourself down. So it's like you've just got to kind of make one or two choices about things to do, or make a choice about a person to be with, or all of those things, and not fear that it's almost like I'm going to live in regret, because that's the feeling around this. It feels like you kind of constantly look back with regret. But regret is kind of pointless, pile two, because you don't know what would have happened if you made the other choice. Don't rose-colour glasses the past on what you didn't choose. Just move forward with what you do and make it the best you possibly can, because any of these things were possible. This is the thing. That's your challenge. You are already a star. Just choose and go with it and dedicate yourself. Use Saturn's energy to do that, because nothing is lost, including whatever it was that you felt you broke your heart over. That the energy behind that is not lost. Okay, so given that, let's have a look with Magic and Mediums deck, some spiritual gifts or approaches that could help with the messages of each of the worlds. So for the lower world, where it's really kind of getting to the core of make a decision and stick to it and polish something up. Take the stress out of it, because on the celestial level, once you do that, the stress is gone. What will help you? Excuse me. Mediumship. Okay. So you may have a natural ability. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me at all with this that you do. So if you do, then connect in with what your ancestors or main guides would tell you. Otherwise, I think understand, like this is almost a play on words. Choose the medium that you want to work with, particularly if you're creative, because there are many mediums you can work with. So maybe use your psychic ability and emotional resonance to decide what medium to work with. At the second level, where it is about you using this emotional resonance and kind of understanding that letting go of something for a time does not lose it, but you do need to make a choice rather than kind of hold on to things just not to lose anything. The energy that will help you, higher self, your higher self will help you with that. Reach out to your own higher self, because that will connect to this. That will remind you of all you could be, and then say, okay, now choose one. Okay, go with that and go happily with that, because you know that you can polish that up and then make your next choice. And then to realize you can heal your broken heart on a celestial level, we have persuasion. Okay, so I think allow the celestial world to persuade you. Allow yourself to be open to that, rather than, as I say, rather than constantly looking back and second guessing yourself. Persuade yourself. Use your psychic skills to persuade yourself to hear that message. And even if it isn't fully within you yet because you're still in doubt, just let it persuade you, because once that happens, it's like the persuasion brings it about, and then you'll see that that's right. So interesting. It's using your own psychic gifts to help you feel the confidence to move forward. Okay, let's also see with the Astro Dice some astrology energy from each world. So from the lower world, we have Neptune in Cancer in the 9th house. So this is all about your belief. 9th house is all about beliefs. What we ascribe to that. It connects to the Hierophant energy here as well too, what we've learned and so forth. Your psychic skills are what you are. You're protecting your psychic skills, actually. And I think learning how to use them rather than protect them is what this is talking about. Like this, as I say, something broke your heart. And I think that is making it hard to make that decision. So you try and protect everything. But that's a bit illusory with Neptune. So you need to be aware of that. On the middle world, we have Venus in Taurus in the 7th house. This has got to do with, that's why we had such a strong relationship energy here. So I would say for most of you, there's been some sort of broken heart in terms of love or some very close relationship. And you kind of feel that you're kind of stubbornly stuck in that energy. You need to kind of release that energy and allow yourself to believe you can develop the life and the love that you want, because there is some sort of broken heart energy operating here. And then with the celestial energy, we have Uranus in the 11th house in Scorpio. Wow, hang on, I almost wanted to tilt over. Scorpio. So your connection, your psychic connection with others is highly inspirational. In fact, that's what it's sort of saying as well. That's interesting, actually. That's an additional piece of information to all of this. It's giving you another solution potentially. It's like if you, and this might particularly work if you're an artistic sort of person or something like that, but like, let me use that and then metaphorically use it in whatever applies to you. But it's almost like the Uranian energy is this energy of things coming in fast. So you have so much, so many things that sometimes the way to deal with that is to use the powers of persuasion out into the world. It's like to release some ideas and let others take them forward. And like that might feel like, oh, no, it's my idea. But it could be like, do you lead a group that's looking at developing something creatively? I mean, I have a friend who's working in kind of AI type of stuff. And he was telling me how, you can actually kind of like connect in with other developers and so forth in a way that like kind of, it's almost like it workshops the idea and you get an exponential outcome. And yet you can still, if it's your original idea, you can hold on to the original idea and own that. But nevertheless, it gets developed in so many different avenues. It's exponential and it's really, really positive for everybody. So that's a really interesting thing. It may be something like that some of how you deal with this is to be the one who inspires others, not just feeling like you have to be the only person who actually manifests the thing. Choose what you want to manifest, and then it's almost like seed it out into the world for others to do it, or help others to do it, mentor and coach them or something like that, because you have mastered a lot of things, and that is your own challenge as well as your blessing. Okay, so now we're getting to the question part of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deal out 3 cards, 1, 2, and 3. So I do want you to choose the number between 1, 2, and 3. And I want you to have in mind a question that is a yes/no question. It can be related to this, and I'll talk about this probably mainly in relation to that, or it can be anything really. But I'll ask you to pause if you haven't thought of your question and your number. When you have both those, then unpause. If you've got them both now, that's fine. I'm about to deal out the answers. And I'm going to do it face down and then we'll look at it. So for question number 1, for question number 2, and for question number 3. Okay. So if your yes/no question is for number 1, the answer to that is could go either way. When in my system with court cards, if they are wands or cups and they're reversed, court cards normally are no, but when they are reversed and they are wands or cups, it could go either way. The issue around all of this has got something to do with either the right use of power or where it isn't being used appropriately, or ego. So whatever this is around, is it your ego and your use of power and your use of influence will be a dominant factor in whether the answer is yes or no. I do feel if it was saying, should I come out more into the world with what I do, the answer tilts towards yes to me. If it is, do I take the guidance of someone about what to do, the answer may be no, because I think that it tilts towards no, because I think this is about you making the choice. That's very important. Okay, if your question, yes, no question, is number 2, the answer is yes. This is an additional major arcana card. So major arcana cards in my system are yes, but there is a proviso to that. If you are asking about effectively being devoted to something, like is this the one thing I should absolutely just focus on, or can I find this through a devotion to a particular spiritual leader, a particular spiritual thing? Because what I think is when I get a reverse major arcana, if the topic of the major arcana is really on the nose for the question, then it's too close to call. So if you are looking at something, if you had something in mind to devote yourself to, like at that kind of level, then it could go either way. I think it's going back to, is this something that you could see all the way through? Or is it something you could spread out into the world in some other way? But beyond that, if it's not about that, if it's anything else, the answer is yes. For number 3, the answer to your yes/no question is no. So court cards, reversed or upright, when they are pentacles or swords, are no. So this is no. And this would suggest that there's something about this that is either You won't be committed to it long term. It may not come out with a material outcome that you would want. Someone else may not be committed to it, or it's not financially or materially a good idea. So I hope that that resonates for you and was helpful. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the Sacred Law of the Northwest. And if I was to encapsulate what this card talks about in relation to this, it is a soul regeneration and a getting in touch with and then being guided by sacred law and your own divine purpose as opposed to external and societal law. Koalas are symbols of regeneration and of spiritual growth in that way and healing, and the Northwest direction and their connection with the shamanic energies there is about finding sacred law. So that's why it says sacred law. So I think this is a journey for you, or the shaman is going on a journey for you so that you can determine what is right for you spiritually at this point. And it may or may not be what you've been learning. It may or may not be what your culture says. It may connect to past lives. It may be something broader than that. It may be finding a spiritual tradition that leads you to your pure will. Magicians talk about the will. The Kabbalah talks about the will, and these things are connected to divine will and us being most purely what we are. Society, belief structures within society, the way we're educated, all these things tend to take us away from that. So I think this is about really getting a connection to that and having a kind of spiritual regeneration that takes you towards what is your real internal truth. Koala energy is also very powerful at night and in dreams. So there would be not only whatever the shaman might tell you, which is like a kind of guided waking dream that the shaman goes on, but your own dreams will be probably bringing you messages at this time around this. So let's get into the journeys. Let's get into what the shaman wants to say to you. So firstly, the lower world, which is where you connect with your soul, sometimes your power animal or spirit animals. You will often get sort of like themically torn apart to get to the core essence of you. All of that kind of thing can occur there. This is where you really are safe to do that and to explore. So if your journey is about aligning to your sacred law, to your own inner knowing, to your abilities in that way, and the kind of regeneration and freedom that brings, it will be very interesting to see what the experience is in the lower world. So let's see first, but before I do that, I'm going to use court cards very differently in each level. Oh, they're quite similar actually between the first and the third levels, but I'll explain it each time. So if a court card comes up upright when we're in the lower world, that is an aspect of you that you can leverage, work with, or be aware of. May help you align to your own sacred law and your own beliefs. If it comes up reversed, then, if it's upright, that's wrong. In this one, if it's upright, it's a guide that's helping you and an energy to help you. That's more the middle world. Sorry, I'm getting confused. That will be a guide. If it's reversed, it's something that you need to examine to get yourself more in alignment. Sorry about that. By the third one I'm doing here, I was getting my worlds mixed up court card wise. So the lower world for you. Justice. 10 of Cups reversed. It's really funny, like we got sacred law and first one out is law. 10 of Swords reversed, Ace of Cups reversed, 6 of Earth, the Lovers. So the interesting thing here, this is very much within you because there isn't like a guide energy, but it's not saying that you have anything kind of problematic because we don't have a reversed, not problematic necessarily, but like challenging. We don't have a reversed court card either. So this is kind of even at the lower world level, there is something almost kind of theoretic. This is about sacred law. And this represents it as the rebel in this deck. And so this is the moving from societal law to inner law. And what the shaman is saying is that you may already have experienced a lot of drama because of that, emotionally and kind of intellectually. There might have been a lot of arguments. There might be a lot of drama. It might be very different to your family background, to the things of those that you love, all of that kind of thing. To be that, you have to face that and find your own truth. and whether it is done just in the lower world symbolically and then therefore it kind of clears in your actual day-to-day world, or whether it is something that you have to navigate, that will be there. It is about getting in touch with the true heart, which hasn't been woken up yet. So it is almost saying that the rebellion is necessary, not just because this is about you coming into alignment with your sacred law and who you truly are, but it's also that there's something about the emotional and intellectual world that you've been in. It's been a bit like a straitjacket. The true heart, this is what actually allows the true heart to start to beat. And it is saying you will find help and support in the material world and also here in the lower world. There is nourishment to be had from this, and there will be those that guide you, but they're not showing themselves directly here because we haven't got a court card. So it may be that it's spirit animal guides, and so we have some hints here with this bird, with the koalas, but it may just be that they are helping you, but a little bit behind the scenes, because this is about you finding you, and they don't want to confuse the energy. Choices about relationships are a very key way where you see this. There is an emotional thing. I think for some of you, if you aren't already happily involved, if you're happily involved with someone, I don't think with this it's going to disturb that relationship. It's other relationships, family, society, or whatever. But if you are not with someone and you are looking for love, this is saying when you do this, it will actually bring that in. So there is actually a bit of a hint here about an emotional payoff that may be unexpected, because you expect just to be the rebel, but it may in fact bring something very positive for you. So then how does that work in the middle world? The middle world is kind of the day-to-day world that we're in, but it's also a trickster energy world. It's where we can be tricked by other people, and we can also be tricked by entities and energies, the fae, spirits, anything like that. So we have to be aware of that. And when we're looking at how this plays out in our life, what are the influences around it? So in the middle world, the court cards, if the court card is upright, that is you. That's what I was saying before there. It is an aspect of you can leverage. If a court card is reversed, it is either a person or some sort of spiritual entity that is a trickster energy and you have to be aware of. So let's see what we get around the middle world. Ace of Swords. Four of Swords, Eight of Pentacles reversed, Seven of Wands, Queen of Wands, excellent, that's a good one for it to be you, Page of Pentacles reversed. Okay, so we do have a bit of a trickster energy there, but generally speaking, I think this would probably trump that one very much so. So this is saying, you have new ideas, different ways of thinking, and it is something new that's meant to kind of be, after like the kind of the exhaustion almost of old ideas, it's a new idea. So there's true inspiration going on. Your connection to the sacred law is new in the sense that it is coming through you and is of you, but it also has huge potential more generally. But it is saying you don't have to tell everybody. So this is not like if you kind of had your own sense of who you were in the spiritual order and what is right. You can keep that very private to allow it to grow and to protect. You have mastered something to be able to do this. What this is saying is it's very clear actually. It comes to you in a very clear way, and it comes to you through your mind. Don't ever let anybody in the spiritual world tell you that the mind is less and we have to shut it off. We have to learn how to work with it in a way that is true, because we have to work with all the elements. You're very good with the mind. You've actually mastered that. So when this comes through, you'll be very judicious, literally, sacred law, in who you speak to, who you share it with, and who you don't. But you will be you have the mastery of being able to discern what is true and what is not true with this. You're very on point. Don't doubt that. And don't lose courage, because this is part of who you are. I think that you are meant, whether it's to work in a spiritual area or whether it's a legal area or a social or political or something, there is something about you. You self-actualize and you really shine. You're very charismatic because you are so uniquely you and you are so clear. So this is meant to help others, I think, as well. But your strength will shine. And if you did have to speak up for what you did, if you had to be an advocate or if you worked on the law or whatever, you would be amazing. But there is an energy that tries to second guess what you're doing, say it's not practical, or tries to stop it being able to be implemented in some way. in a court case, this is a good way of saying it, if you are the sort of charismatic barrister who has a very clear argument, this would be the one who tried to come up with practical things that took it off track, or tries to find, like, where's the evidence? You can say all this, but where's the evidence? In fact, that's a really strong energy here. I think that because a lot of this is coming from within you, and you are actually very realistic. It's very easy for people to say, well, that's just what you think. Who says that's what it is? So that you will actually have some pushback from others. If this is why it's important about who to speak to, but don't doubt the veracity of what you're doing. The only thing you have to do, and this is using your mastery, is make sure that this is kept clear and kept balanced. This is a justice thing. So the one thing that anybody who is sort of looking at a different way of viewing a situation, or politically, socially, spiritually, you do need to try and be consistent with the first principles. That's the only point. That's the other area where this could take you off focus, because if you are starting to believe one thing but do another, say one thing and do another, you're getting away from the purity of that. So that's the one thing, and that might be this energy trying to get you to do that, particularly when there are material outcomes, compromise you in some way. So just be aware of that and be really strict with yourself, because we can all get a kind of spiritual enlightenment and then think, okay, anything we think from there on is fine. But if it's actually inconsistent with the first principles, it's not. So you do have to hold yourself in strict regulation. Okay, let's see what the celestial realms want to say. Now, at this level, if there is an upright card, that is a guide energy for you in the celestial realms. If it is a reverse court card, then that is an element of you that the celestial realms want you to have a look at. So a bit like in the lower world. So the celestial realms, 9 of Wands reversed, Ace of Wands reversed, Queen of Cups, the Sun, the Devil reversed, the World reversed. Okay. So firstly, this energy here, I'm going to talk about this first. I think this is very clearly saying there is something about this sacred law, whether it's that you work in law, social policy, political policy, spiritual work, there's something like that. That is your life path. That clarity, and bringing that clarity, and like making something sacred into the material world, and freeing people from that which is not clear, that which is not true, is what you are here to do. So you are meant to do this in one way or the other. That's why it's very important that you stay clear in your own energy, because if one can be accused fairly of hypocrisy, then it kind of reduces the efficacy of what you're doing. What though the celestial realm is saying is that you are very good with people, you are very psychic, you are very good with people and very good with emotions, and you can use that. So if you have put yourself under the strict mental regulation to know that what you're doing and saying is consistent and makes sense, and someone's kind of going, where's the evidence? You can almost present it both with your charisma and with the emotional power of what you do. It will override. So again, in a court case, if your arguments are really sound, very logical, people can understand them, they make sense, they hold together, and you're charismatic, and you know how to work with the emotions and understand and moderate how you present this with the emotions, then you're going to beat the, okay, where's the evidence sort of thing, because it's almost like the power of that is its own evidence, its own internal consistency and emotional power is its evidence. So you can use that. That's part of who you are. It's like you've been given the gifts in a way, or you've developed the gifts that allow you not only to see the sacred law, but to actually in some way or other apply it. And this is a bit of a long-term goal for you. You certainly have unfinished business in this life, and you may well take this energy through to more going forward. So this, you are not sort of near the end of a journey looking back going, isn't that interesting? This is really something that's on foot at the moment. What this is also saying is that why these gifts and this ability is so important is that when there is a new idea or a new creative inspiration, a new passion, a new direction, this will really upset the apple cart of those that are happy with the current rules. So that's why, but that's part of this freeing energy, so that the world can evolve, so you can evolve, so everybody can evolve. But you will upset the apple cart. So this is why it's important to use your emotional understanding, and it's why it's really, really important to walk the talk, because that would be the one thing that would completely destabilize anything that you were doing, because it is going to be in contention and people are going to be looking for the lack of evidence or looking for the inconsistency or looking for the hypocrisy. So be aware of that. So then if we're looking at, from these messages from the different worlds, what is a kind of spiritual gift or approach that would be helpful? When we go back to the first principles of you understanding there is something old that you are going to shift out of to open up the possibilities of the heart and the new, what is a spiritual energy that would be helpful? Abundance, like thinking about what you want to create and being able to create something. Actually, I do think that many of you will be very successful. Like if you're a lawyer, be very successful if you are also philanthropic, and there may be a point where you are called upon to do that if you have abundance to share it. Know that, and you need to think about how to make sure that the outcome of what you're doing leads to abundance for as many people as possible. There's almost a utilitarian thing there, the greater good or the greater number energy as well. At the second level, using these skills, the charisma and your mastery, to bring an idea forth, but only when it can be heard and can be understood. Respect, yeah, like you actually have a really strong capacity to build respect, but it's also why I keep saying make sure that you live by your own principles, because you can lose that respect. Like they say, respect takes a lifetime to develop and like 2 seconds to lose. So I'm not saying that most of you are going to do it, but it is a risk. We have to be careful that we don't just start to define, because we've been clear and got to a point and so forth, start to define every idea as a pearl of wisdom. We have to be very clear about whether it fits and whether what we do with it fits. And then when we're looking at what the celestial realm is saying about kind of that this being your life path, glamour magic, yeah, you're very glamorous actually. I think many of you are probably very good looking or just very appealing in some way, maybe a beautiful speaking voice. There are various things that are very glamorous about you, and you can use that in the life path and the Queen of Cups energy there. And it's important. It's being given to you. It's also being given to you so you can be invisible when you need to be. Because this goes back to the new idea and only talking to those that can hear this idea, and knowing and discerning when to do it. Glamour magic is both being able to present in a very charismatic way. It's also invisibility. So I think that one of the things that you're being given here is the capacity to shine when you need to shine, but also to be a little bit hidden when you need to be a little bit hidden. Okay, let's see astrologically some energy from each world. So from the lower world, we have Jupiter, the great benefic, in Libra, the social order and justice and all those sort of things. In the third house, how you communicate. Yeah, your communication skills need to be very expansive, need to be abundant. Yeah, this is going back to this. You need to speak about the benefits for the greater number in this in some way, and the social benefits of it. That is a very big part of your message, whether it's spiritual, political, social, academic, material, whatever it might be. Then the energy around the middle world, kind of what you're doing in the world. We have the North Node in the 12th house in Virgo. So a lot of what you do, and this is this energy as well too, it's like if somebody's trying to unseat you, they're going to go, where's the evidence? Where's the materiality of it? You need to go within. This is the journey within to know the sacred, the going within. And a lot of this may come in dreams and so forth to integrate what you're doing. Like you need to head in a consistent direction that is integrated. It will also make it almost unassailable by anyone who's trying to go, where's the evidence? Because if it is really integrated and heading in one direction, it's very, very hard for that to be unseated. But like it is, the risk that you have is that it's, is it all academic? So it's make sure it integrates well and your actions integrate with your words. And then at the upper world level, we have Pluto, wow, in Cancer in the 7th house. I do think for some of you, this may bring in a very significant love relationship that's likely to be like, at least living together or married or something like that, starting a family, that kind of thing. Beyond that, there is something in what you are doing that will have a profound impact on almost like something like the nuclear family or how we see our community and how we see our family in a broader sense. Again, the 10 of Cups reversed, the 10 of Air reversed, old order thinking coming into new order thinking. It has a very strong relationship energy. This is why the Queen of Cups is important. So it is revolutionary in a way with Pluto and very transformative. So this part of this will also transform your family and other close relationships. Okay, so last but not least, we're going to have yes-no questions. So as I said in the introduction, we're going to have the shaman do a yes-no question. So what I'm going to ask you to do is actually to think of your question now, whether it's related to this or whether it's something else is fine. I'll probably talk mainly like it was related to this, but you can extrapolate in whatever way works for you. But I'm also going to ask for you not only to have your question, but to choose a number between 1 and 3. And if you need to pause to do one or both of those, do that, because I'm about to deal out face down 3 cards, 1, 2, and 3. And depending upon which number you choose, that will be the answer to your question. So number 1, number 2, and number 3. So if you chose number 1, the answer to your yes-no question is no. It has something to do with either what you would commit to, what you would protect or nurture, or what others would commit to and protect or nurture, or some material thing. It's a no answer. So if it's like, should I start this particular business? The answer would be no. But it would probably be saying the concept of some sort of business idea is good. It's this one is not going to last the distance. If the question was, should I leave a business? Then the answer would be no. It would be saying stay committed because it will work out for you. If it's, will a particular legal case that I'm involved in at the moment, for instance, because of all legality work out, the answer would be no. But there is still a capacity to build something that would work. So that's just various possible meanings for that, but it depends on your question. If your yes-no question was for number 2, your answer is no. Court cards are no in my system unless they're reversed and they're wands or cups in reverse, and then it's too close to call. So no, the answer here has to do with power, the use of power, and or the use of sort of control in some way, or ego. So there is some question here around power, ego, and control associated with it, and the answer is no. So if you were looking to do something and say something in the world, the answer would be no. It would be maybe seen as too dominating or a power grab or something like that. If you were asking, though, should I keep all of this hidden from everybody, not just in discernment, the answer would be no. It would be you are meant to get this message out in the world. So again, it depends on what the question is. And the yes-no answer to number 3 is yes. So this is cups. So cups, ace to 10 of cups and wands, whether they're upright or reversed, is yes. So this tells me that yes, the answer is yes. It has something to do with the true regeneration, because 6 of cups reversed is moving away from the past, not repeating the past. So there is something here in the yes answer that is very different to the past, what you might have had as an answer to this sort of question in the past. It may also be a maturation energy, moving away from when you were young into who you truly are meant to be. But the answer is yes. If it's about a relationship, yes, and it's very different to past ones. If it's, should I leave a relationship? Yes, and don't get in a relationship like that again. So it does depend upon what the question is. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.